Welcome to BS&BEER Canada. We have another amazing episode. I'm not going to introduce Lorrie just quite yet, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Aaron Jones. I am a carpenter and a builder on Grand Manan Island, a student of building science, a student of building science, blower door aficionado, and tonight I am drinking a Greystone single track pale ale. And when it comes to building science, I think we should all be on the same track. Anyways, over to you, Justin.
Hello, everyone. Justin Ott, custom home builder and renovation in Saskatchewan, building science enthusiast. And yeah, tonight I am drinking a classic Saskatchewan dad beer of Labatt's Blue. All right, over to I believe Lori.
All right, guys. I am here in Halifax in my renovated passive house, 1850s building. And so I have wandered away from whatever I was drinking. I had a can of some kind of fizzy water, and I'll probably find it as I wander around the building with you. Um, and I'm super excited to share this with you. The format today is going to be I'm going to tour you around the building while it's still light out. It's quite foggy here and getting darker by the minute because daylight doesn't last that long. And so I'll show you around the building, give you a little tour, and then I have some slides. So hopefully this isn't too messy. The first thing that might be messy is I'm not sure how to turn my camera around while I am in this mode. So this could take a sec. Um, it's just the three of us today, Aaron.
So Sean is hoping to join us
Okay.
shortly. He is on hold for some reason somewhere. I don't know if that means he is stuck in traffic or stuck in a meeting or what the case may be. But
Okay.
anyways, you turned your camera around.
I figured it out. Hey, I'm learning a lot of Zoom things today. So also I'm going to gracefully stand up now.
All right.
So the
I have to
room,
ask a question.
yeah,
Are those radiator covers?
no.
Okay.
So some of you probably attended our first. I wish I could zoom my camera back a little bit too, but I'm just going to have to walk backwards a little. Some of you attended the first talk I gave about this project, um, but there'll be a little bit of a recap here. Um, our company specializes in passive house new builds and sort of high performance retrofits, but we've never done a passive house retrofit. And so when we found this building for sale, we decided that we were going to turn it into, if we could buy it, we would turn it into an office for our company, which we were on the hunt for. And we were looking to do a passive house retrofit. And so the panels on the bottom of these windows, like what we did with this retrofit, we kind of tried to keep as much um, character defining elements as we could while still achieving the performance targets that we wanted. And we really wanted things to be like distinctly old or distinctly new. And so those two panels were actually on the original windows. Most of the windows had them. We couldn't salvage a lot of them, but we were able to salvage the ones in this room. Um, and so when we bought this building, this room just had like hanging plaster. I'll show you a picture actually of this corner in a little while. Um, and then under the plaster was what you see on the bottom half of that wall. So um, we this is a party wall. That's a good piece of information. Also, the ceiling is pretty cool. Pretty cool that we were allowed to leave it exposed because we converted the building into commercial use. So we had some negotiation on that. Here's going to be the first lesson, though, that I share with you. So when we did this, when we kind of did the retrofit, we we started out with about 24, 25 air changes per hour. Not the best. I guess I'll keep going this way. And so this is one of the undone things. We've got this fireplace that isn't finished yet. You can see a chunk of marble inside it that is going to be back on the front. But back to this wall. So we knew that we were going to need to call our friends at AeroBarrier at some point in the retrofit, and so we did. And what we were taught or told about this building was that the next door neighbor on the other side of our party wall had spray foamed and air sealed and uh, totally fixed up that wall and the entire inside of his house, which is the same vintage. And so AeroBarrier came and our builder came that day and everybody kind of got the building ready for AeroBarrier, and they were applying it for about 3 hours when the next door neighbor came over and said, "Why is there fog in my house?" So nobody had knocked on their door. Nobody had investigated whether our reports of it being fully air sealed and insulated were true. And so we had to stop with the AeroBarrier, first of all. But we ended up actually backpedaling and pulling all of the paneling off of this wall and putting Intello up, which was not part of the plan. We really wanted to keep the paneling because we thought it was airtight, and we just took their word for it. And so even the pros make embarrassing mistakes, is the moral of that story. And so now it is airtight, but that was a bad lesson. Fortunately, our neighbors don't hate us. And so there's our fireplace. We had 5 fireplaces in this building when we started. This is one of 2 that remained. We couldn't keep the ones on the upper level. They were really in bad shape. They just kind of fell apart when somebody sneezed one day or something. The other wall, the kind of hallway wall, also has the paneling, and that's an interior wall, so we kept that. And then this door, passage door here, the white one, is actually the original front door. So I think the marketing pictures for this talk showed the front elevation before, and so we wanted to keep those doors and thought we would kind of add them between this room, which was the living room, and the dining room of the original house. We have the main level of the building set up as a meeting room, so this is like our kind of cozy team meeting room, homeowner meeting rooms. And because we work with a lot of single family clients, having our passive house office set up on the main level, like a little bit home-like, was part of our strategy. So I'm going to walk through this door. This might not be elegant, but so this part is not super done yet. I mean, it's finished, but it's not furnished. Here's mistake number 2, and this is not my fault. This room is going to be our kind of dining room, but also you can see someday you guys will have me on BS&BEER on this TV, that big monitor. This is our kind of conference room that I'll do education from, and it's also going to be our sample library. And this wood is supposed to be stained a kind of dark blue-ish color. And for some reason, instead of wood conditioner, one of the contractors put urethane on these cabinets the day that they came in. They mixed up the cans or something. And so there's been like a month-long conversation about what we're going to do here. Are we just going to paint it? We really wanted it to be stained. And they've been kind of doing test patches and research on how to get rid of if it's possible, to sand it or chemically remove the urethane and do our stain. I'm going to just tilt you up. This is a temporary light because we've lost the light for this room. It's probably in the basement. But we've got our, exposed timber ceiling here again. Like this joinery it feels like a real gift to be able to just look at it every day and be able to preserve it. It's certainly when we were during demo, we were really excited at just getting to see what the building was made of. You can see there's still in the backyard, our builders are still working kind of, that's where they're staging some of the work from. And this massive tree is, I'm not gonna lie, one of the reasons why I bought the building. It's like, and actually some big chunks of this tree have fallen off since we bought it in Hurricane Fiona, sadly. Here's a goofy thing that we thought we were gonna be able to solve and didn't. So this is our kitchen, and it is, these old houses always kind of had like a lean-to on the back that was the kitchen. And that's what was here. But then they built a second story on it and they just kind of cantilevered it over. And so we were going to just make both walls fatter in both directions and hide this. But then we needed a barrier-free entry because we're now a commercial building, and this is the only one that could do for the city. And so we had to, we couldn't fit our barrier-free bathroom, which is on the other side of this wall, and this barrier-free entry, and make the wall fatter. So the wall stayed the way it was. And then this is our kitchen, and I do want to, the kitchen again is set up for them to be working on. But I'm gonna be showing you, sorry, I feel like I've got shaky cam going on here. I'm gonna be showing you some photos of what this looked like before. This was literally joists on soil before. So we at least had the opportunity to put a really well insulated slab on grade here and make sure that the water wasn't pouring in like it was when we bought the building. So we've got Veta wood windows and doors. And there's a neighbor really close. So we've got some ugly film on the window right now until we decide what to do there. So here's our kitchen. We're really great. We feel pretty confident in our abilities to design a high performance, low energy building, but we're not very knowledgeable about, the horizon for us is healthy materials. And so we had our builders build this kitchen rather than go to a kitchen company because none of them could promise us that we would know what the cabinetry was and that it was, low VOC plywood and stuff like that. And then our countertops are actually recycled paper, and like they're rock hard. I can't even believe it. I took a little chunk and submerged it in water for a while. It's all good. And then this weird thing, in case you're wondering, we kind of made this trough so that we could have a row of like flowers or herbs growing in that window. This is a west-facing window, although also a massive tree, so not a lot of direct light. And this back end of the building, there was like one window in this entire thing. So this is this window in the back of the kitchen wall does face south. And so when we did the renovation design, we didn't change the front elevation, the kind of the heritage facade, but we added a lot more windows back here facing the garden, which in the wintertime, there is actually some light gets through that tree, but like it's being under a green umbrella back here, which is like my favorite. So, okay, I'm gonna turn around. Here's the, this view of so this is the other side of that fireplace that we kept. We actually also have this fireplace when we bought the building had like one of those like ye old like cranes and a bunch of iron pots and things in it that my brother has lovingly kept and is going to bring back to us with some of the rust rubbed off and some oil on it, and we're going to put it back in there. But we have some tiling and stuff to do first. And then this other wall, we kind of got it just a tall double skinny door to kind of echo the front, the front wall. So we've got a lot of doors in that corner, and then we've just got this big pin-up board for showing clients their drawings and working on schemes, etc. Temporary boardroom table, which for some reason isn't in the middle of the room, but we've just been like putting the drawings on that. Our table isn't here yet. And then I'm gonna go to this hallway. So we have This is a little back area. This actually was a side door into the building, but the steps encroached onto the neighbor's property, and so they made us get rid of it in the project. But we talked them into this. Is literally the east wall is on the property line, so it should, by rights, be a solid. There shouldn't be a window in it at all, and it should be solid if there's a door. But we said, oh well, it's going to be our, it's a tilt turn window, so even though it's 30 inches off the ground, if there was a fire, we could escape through it. So they accepted that. Our electric panel is hidden behind that mirror. And this is our washroom. And very frustratingly, we wanted a colored drain for this sink, and it isn't in yet. But we've got this, you guys are going to see, I love pink. I am a girly girl. And so this is a kind of lovely concrete pink sink. And, the rest of the bathroom is not that exciting. This is the way to our basement. I really wish I could zoom back so that I'm not like forcing you guys right up to too close to things. But so we kind of had that as a secret door. And I can turn on the light. I'm not going to take you down there because I'm alone here and I don't want to fall down and have only people who are 100 miles away know that I'm at the bottom of the basement stairs. We designed this as the main floor and upper level are the passive house environment, and then the basement's its own zone for kind of obvious reasons. It's a cave. And so we lined this with Intello, and there's also Intello under that drywall. The basement, we're not done air sealing it fully yet, and that's another. I'll tell you that story in a bit. But the basement's been insulated twice because I really tried to avoid spray foam, and then I capitulated. So there we go. Yeah, this is one of my favorite features. Nobody needs to know that we, have a basement. And so our builders just, made us this nice concealed doorway. We had a bunch of photos done of the original building when we bought the building. So our photographer just sent us, or actually printed us out and brought us a bunch of pictures to hang in our hallway. And that's looking at the bottom of the basement stairs looking up. It was spooky in here, you guys, not gonna lie. And there's our front door. And so our front door is the only door or window that we've installed that isn't like a passive house triple glazed unit. And that's because, well, first of all, you can see it's just squeezed in here between the two walls. And I wanted somebody who was going to come here and measure it and tell me for sure that it was going to fit exactly in this opening when they came. And this building is 170 years old. It is not remotely level. We actually made it much more level and plumb in the course of this project. So we ordered this door from Norwood Windows and Doors, which is a New Brunswick supplier of kind of, we use them a lot when we're working on heritage projects because they can do this kind of traditional look. And so we got sort of the double door look, which is, you can actually see, I'm going to go over to this back in here for a second. The neighbor across the street got the same door when he saw our door, and there's another one up the road installed since we did this. So now I'm a door influencer, which is pretty fun. Yeah, and this actually was a vestibule, and you can see this kind of crook in the wall. The vestibule was only like 18 inches deep. It was hilarious. And we were planning to keep the kind of vestibule screen. It was literally just the identical door and glazing just inside 18 inches. But the builders said that they thought that it was supposed to come out. And so it broke my heart. It wasn't here, but I don't think we were ever going to get it airtight if we didn't get rid of it. So it's probably for the best. And those are my shoes. Sorry. So we have this The reason I wanted to keep it is because we have this one big step here, and somebody has literally already fallen here. So I thought that having the frame would make people notice that there's a step at our door. So we might need to do something, even though the tile is a completely different color. We might need to have a safety thing. And then here's our stairs, which um, we didn't replace them. We just refinished them. They were definitely, we sort of sanded them and bleached them, and they sort of look, complementary to our maple floors. Um, and the railing down on the slopey part of the stairs, or the treads, is original. We had to raise the railing at the top because it was only like 20 some inches high. It was terrifying. We definitely couldn't have had wine in our office ever with those stairs, or with that railing rather. So I think I'm going to go up now. I think there might have been one other thing I was going to tell you. Oh, actually, I just wanted to tell you a bit about the paint. So I'll talk to you about the paint. Yeah, this kind of curly Q thing. This is in a lot of Halifax houses. I don't know what you call it, but there's quite a bit of it. You can see we're not perfectionists about this. We're just letting the old stuff be old. But we worked with, or we bought our paint. Sorry, this part might not be the best. There's a company in Nova Scotia called Pure Paint Lab. It is made in Nova Scotia, and it's plant-based paint, and it's totally natural. The wall isn't dirty. There's shadows on it. Yes. And so, microplastics and that whole healthy materials thing, again, that's part of what we were trying to up level. So we are really happy with the way that paint turned out. So I don't know what's in it, like chalk and I don't know, lavender or something, who knows, but it's pretty cool. And so we're at the hallway. This level is our studio. So we have 3 kind of enclosed offices. This is my business partner Judy's office. It's an office. We have this very cool light fixture here in the hallway. That just got put up. We have a duct going through the hallway, and we have fake beams. These are original timbers, but we could not save the roof, so we just wholeheartedly faked them up here. We have a skylight. We have 2 skylights. There were 2 plastic, terrifyingly cold skylights up here when we bought the building. And so we took this opportunity as an opportunity to buy some Lamelux skylights from 475. And I really like them. I would totally have made them bigger now that in the hindsight. This is another office. And then this is our studio. So this kind of communal desk with our drinks fridge is in the middle of the studio space. Yell at me if I'm going too fast. I am not a pro at this. And that's where the hearth is. So that's directly over the kind of two back-to-back fireplaces downstairs. And we were sad when this fireplace fell down, but so we just kind of replaced it with something that's kind of, symbolically like a fireplace up here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to turn that light off for a second. That is a light that's also a plant pot. So as that plant grows, it's going to kind of, whoops, bad at filming. It's going to kind of trail down from the plant or from the pots. Turn this back on so that there's a bit more light. Up here, we couldn't salvage our little aprons that were on our windows, so we thought we would just have a reminder using a modern detail. So we just put kind of maple trim so that we would remember that all the windows in the building had that lovely old big trim. And same thing with our trim. there's a few parts of the building where we have kept the original trim, but not much of it made it. So we just made it the same dimension with flat stock. Okay. And then we'll walk back here. We're getting closer and closer to my office. And when we get to my office, I'll switch and show you a few slides. So there's another workstation. This is our project manager's desk. And like, this is like command central. Like everybody does what she says, even me. Nice big view into our kind of tree canopy. And then the kind of printer area. And then we have this library. You guys are going to see how spoiled I am because there's this like kind of nice book library, and there's going to be a bulletin board against this wall, but these are our file storage. And then we come to my office, and hilariously, I'm getting dizzy because I can see myself approaching my own computer. So I have the only office that's like kind of hidden away back here, literally in the tree. There's like a crow outside my window constantly. And I have this big desk that's just built across the window. And then I've got like, I don't have a door yet, but I'm getting a double door. And then I've got this kind of nice built-in around my door. And so my business partner, Judy, is a super introvert. Or a super extrovert, and I'm a super introvert. So she gets the office at the top of the stairs, and I get this office that once I have a door will be totally private. I mean, here's the pure paint, which we just, I seem to have the extra can in my office for some reason. Okay. Oh, and my brother made these nice handles for all of our cabinets out of just straps of leather for me. Okay. Hopefully I can do this without this transition without making you guys completely seasick.
There we go. You are starting to share, Lorrie.
Amazing. I thought I was going to make myself seasick. Okay, I'm just going to make this a full screen. How's everybody doing? Now I can see like the chat and stuff because all that time I was like, are they still with me?
It was a great tour. The technical term for the decorative skirt board will come to me, the open skirt, but can't think of it right now. But yeah, classic Halifax.
It's a very classic Halifax house. Like it's not a registered heritage property or anything, but there's, definitely a million, not a million, but a lot of the city looks like this or did look like this. And
Well,
so
in 200 years, it probably will become a registered heritage house.
well, we shall see. I hope it's still here. Like we definitely, we put a lot of work into it. So it's, I feel like it's probably bomb-proof, but I shouldn't say that. So yeah.
I think you've done right by the building. Anyways, I'll let you share.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, we're not 100% finished. You saw we're still working away at the basement a bit and the kitchen. But we're pretty happy. We are working out of it. So every time we just need them, we kind of take a few days if the builders are gonna, come back in and do a bit of work. So you can see the sort of side entrance I told you about that they made us get rid of. Um, and that original white front door. The windows in the building were all single glazed, and those two in that front room were actually like completely original, which is pretty cool. Oh, my slideshow is just advancing all by itself, so that's great. Hang on 2 seconds there. So yeah, it was 1850s. It's about 1,800 square feet, not including the basement. you know, basically untouched, except there was like, you know, a 1980s kitchen and bathroom. But like really, all of the rooms looked very original. And just to give you a sense of it, in case you want to know the floor plan, I think you probably gathered it based on my walk around, but I always appreciate it. Sometimes you see just a video tour and you get a little bit like, what's going on there? So there's it's a very classic side hall plan. So our living room, dining room, kitchen kind of idea follows. And then this is the upstairs where we've got the kind of two small offices near the top of the stairs, and then the big open work area, and then me off here at number one. And so what we did in the building, we brought the walls up to an effective R value of 24, the roof to R 64, and the floors are 24-ish. Like we didn't get to do, I shouldn't say, I didn't see, they told me that they did it, but I'm like, I was like skeptical that they actually did it down in the basement. And our target, oh, not meaning to do that, our air tightness target was 1 air change per hour. Again, we used Vata triple glazed windows, and the whole building um, has heat pumps. We've got a kind of dedicated mini split, small one serving the basement, and then a ducted mini split for serving the upper two levels. I actually just turned it off because I was scared that the fan in my office might be too loud for this meeting or this event. And then we've got an Alnor ERV, which is also purchased from Beta, and it is kind of comparable in performance to the Zender, but cheaper. So that's why we went that route. This is what that front room looks like. So you see our kind of broken marble fireplace and the state of the plaster. It was definitely spooky. Like I brought my dog here once and he just stood and barked into a corner. So it was a really you don't find buildings in that are that original anymore. This is what we did to the walls. So we did a kind of staggered stud offset from the original studs. And in some places, they honestly overlapped. We were aiming for about a 7 to 8 inch cavity, but the old walls were not really vertical in a lot of places. So like and nothing was really square. So it was, we think we got our 24. Who knows really? And you can see we've got we used Intello as our vapor control on the walls and the roof. And so you can just see in that, I'm sharing that just to sort of show you the sequence. Everything we did, like the design was intended to keep the original shingles and original board sheathing, because if we took them off, we wouldn't have been allowed to have shingles back. Like we would have had to go with non-combustible cladding and it would have been a sin. So there's what the stairs look like. And I do want to talk about, we did not get our 24 along that stairwell because we have a pretty narrow stair, a pretty narrow hallway, and like no room for insulation. But we were able to just fur that wall out a little bit more. And I do like this picture because, it just shows you like how frigging messy it is to try and work this way with cross bracing and just kind of make everything nice and clean and neat. And also, my building is probably, I don't know, 8% cobweb still, just hidden in the walls. And then we had the main level, we did a lot of work and we were like, oh, this wood is this sheathing's in good shape. And then we this is on the front elevation. We definitely hit some messy parts. So a good chunk of our front wall ended up being actually ripped apart. And you can just see the top of we had installed a Veta window in the wall and then we're like, oh my God, look what's above it. So this part was nail biting for me. I was like, when things looked like this, I was like, did we make a mistake? But fortunately, we came through it. Also, this is what that kitchen area looked like. So it was joists on dirt, but it was joists on dirt between these just ridiculous rubble walls. So, and you know, I often say the building didn't have a scrap of insulation in it when we bought it, but that floor, those joists did have some foam in there. So they weren't like old joists, they were put there at some point. We have this kind of you know, we had a dilemma in how to deal with this. Also, there was a bit of a step up, which we were able to get rid of. Um, this is not my site, but this is like the picture that always gave me hope. This is like from a retrofit, a passive house retrofit in Manhattan. Whenever I look at this picture, it's like, oh my God, it looks like a you know, war zone or something. And they managed to put like an amazing passive house there. So I was like, it's not this bad. Only reason I'm sharing it with you guys. And so here's what we did. We kind of framed up, you know, a knee wall around that. And this and the basement are the only places in the building that have spray foam. So we got like, you know, 2 or 3 inches of coverage on all of that jagged stone. And then we filled the rest of the cavity with cellulose. So it still does have cellulose. And so you see the kind of cellulose mesh that's waiting to receive it in this picture. I don't have a picture of the spray foam. You'll have to believe me, it definitely is there. I would not put cellulose up against naked rock. The entire front room was cellulose. That's my brother. My brother's a builder. He isn't our builder for this project, but he, you know, he's a great builder. And so he, he came by to look at the pile of cellulose. Um, and so this is just moving along in the sequence. We had a hard time actually finding a cellulose installer. And in the end, our builders did it themselves. They've never installed cellulose before. So it took a really long time. But there's not a lot of cellulose installers in this part of the country, and there's less than there used to be. So that's a missing, you know, opportunity in the market. Anybody in Atlantic Canada who might be listening. And so then there it is all cleaned up. And so all of those cabinets that you saw are kind of built in front of this this extra, it's about a 30-inch high ledge. And so along that long wall, we have extra deep cabinets, and that's where that trough for the plants is that I showed you guys. And then this part here is just a bench, you know, as a floating cantilevered counter for us to have as a lunch bench. So, you know, the ledge is kind of disguised into the underside of that. So we had a problem. We had, after all the insulation was in and they were moving on with drywall, we had a storm where a lot of water came in this corner somewhere. And this is where that janky wall tees off to, you know, the outside wall of the kitchen. And so we had to backtrack there and try and diagnose that. There's a stack or I don't even know what that is. It's not a plumbing pipe. It must be the stack going up through. And so that was really frustrating. And we did a lot of work to try and solve it and thought that it was solved. And it was solved until last week. And a little bit of water came in that window last week. And now we're like devastated and trying to, we're going to need to do some unpleasant work, which is the reality of Atlantic Canada. It's also the reality of, on this project, we had 2 roofers. We had a roofer come and do 80% of the work and ghost us. And then another roofer came and said, well, I think this is how to finish. And so now I'm going to send another roofer up there. And I think I'm just going to put a damn swimming pool liner up there, like just like the biggest piece of membrane I can find. I don't know, like I don't know where the water's coming in. And it might actually just be coming in the wall. Like we don't really know yet. That's kind of a blurry picture, sorry guys, but that's what our roof looked like. We really wanted to, we were planning to keep this roof, again, ridiculously sensitive about the structure and about the embodied carbon and all of that. But it would only have given us like 3 inches of insulation at the perimeter because of the slope, and where it was in contact with the chimney was basically just a sponge. So it had to go. And in its place, this is what we did. We ran TJIs front to back, and we have a new steel beam going across the middle of the building. And we, again, stupidly sensitive about the structure. We thought we were going to keep those timbers. We ended up sawing them off, and then the ones you saw in the ceiling in the studio are just like the wood beams put back up, faked. And so in this roof, we have a hot roof full of cellulose, and we have we have tapered polyiso on top, and it ranges from 4 or 5 inches up to 8 inches. It's not much of a peak. That might be the source of some of my woes. And basically, we just did the WUFI analysis to figure out how much polyiso can go up there to make my cellulose safe in terms of an unvented roof. We don't know if that math was done accurately. I don't do that kind of modeling. So, not that I don't trust people, but there's a lot of parameters in a model, and you get one of them wrong, and your model might say it's safe when it isn't. So we also have sensors monitoring moisture, temperature, and well, not air quality, obviously, but moisture and temperature inside the cellulose and against the sheathing in the roof and in a few places in the walls. So we have 10 sensors altogether, and various places in the building, places where I thought they might be vulnerable and places where I knew it would be safe, just so that I would have like a baseline. And we also have an indoor air quality monitoring sensor that's just tracking on both this level and the lower downstairs level, seeing if the claim to, having amazing passive house air quality and comfort is really true, because we want to contribute data. That slide's just there so that I would remember to tell you how embarrassed I am about the whole aero barrier thing. Seriously, I mean, and also the fact that my neighbor, that neither aero barrier or airtight spaces nor my builder knocked on their door to tell them what was going on. So it was hours before they were like, "What is this?" Anyway, and then another embarrassing thing that we haven't been able to do anything about yet is the guy who installed our TJIs up there thought that a 14-inch tall overhang looked cool. And so he did not stop it at the edge of the building like I told him to. And so literally we have a plan to go up there and trim that off so that we actually don't have such a goofy overhang. But the city won't give us a sidewalk closure permit because there's been so much road construction in our neighborhood. So we have to wait until we're allowed to do that. So eventually I will have a nice picture of the front of my building, but I don't right now. And then there's the outside of the door that I just showed you guys the inside of. And we have temporary, we have an iron, kind of wrought iron handrail coming instead. And when that gets fixed, this step is going to get fixed. And then our bottom step is a nice hunk of granite, which I love. We'll probably replace this ugly piece of lead sometime too, but that was on there for 100 years or so. So that's all the kind of pictures of the building and the scary details. I do want to tell you about what we've managed to do. So this energy balance graph is from our energy model, and so the heat losses have to equal the heat gains. That's how energy works when you're heating a building. And so the top bar is what the energy balance was before when we first bought the building. 24 air changes per hour works out to about well over 600 kilowatt hours per meter square as our heating demand. And the passive house new build target is 15. Most new houses are probably around 100. And so our target in the model ended up being 56. That's what it would have been to hit the targets. We haven't yet hit our blower door test. We are only down to like 3 point something right now. However, it's because we have to do the blower door test with the basement included, because that was how it was tested at first. We get no incentives if it isn't included. So that's why I'm chasing the air tightness in the basement right now. We're pretty confident about the above ground parts. And so even if we stop today, we've actually saved 88% of the energy and 86% or 88% of the heating demand, 86% of the total energy, and 90% of the GHGs. So, I'm just like, looking for like, 3% more savings on most of those measures by getting to that 1 air change per hour target. And so everybody's probably, oh my God, I'm sorry, these keep jumping. Probably wondering what I spent. I bought the building for like $500,000, which seems like a lot of money for this building, but it's a bargain in Halifax, shockingly. And we were like, okay, and then our budget initially was $250,000, which we increased to $350,000, and we ended up spending nearly $7. And so that's pretty horrifying. I'm pretty relieved now that I'm on the other side of it, that I managed to cash flow a lot of that and like not borrow it. So we went to CFAR Analytics to say, hey, when it was going to be $350,000, it was definitely a business case there, but what's this, situation now? And so they compared for us, the kind of business case if it was a code minimum retrofit, because most people would have done that, or if it was a code minimum new build, because most of the other people who bid on this property were going to knock it down. And then passive house retrofits with and without grants, because we were able to get a significant grant from Efficiency Nova Scotia, which really helped us to not have to pause the project in the middle of a critical part and wait until we had enough money. And so the TCBO is a total cost of building ownership. It looks at everything for 60 years that you're going to spend on this building, like energy, but also maintenance and maintenance capital. So when you have to replace your heat pumps and when you have to replace your roof, which might happen sooner than later for me, sadly. And so TCBO, is not something that we look at. We look at what is the payback on our buildings. And I believe that that's why we have a crisis with our buildings right now, because we're looking short term and not long term. And so what this showed is that the total cost of building ownership, even if we didn't have the grant, is less than if we did a code minimum retrofit or a code minimum new build, even though I spent nearly $700,000 retrofitting this building. And so the other way to look at that is our total cost of building ownership savings. So he just kind of said he used the baseline as the code minimum retrofit. The new build would have cost, and obviously these are fake numbers, and we just did our best at costing a code minimum retrofit or a new build on this site. But the code minimum new build costs $1.3 million or more than if somebody did a code minimum retrofit on this building after 60 years. And then basically, because we got a grant in 60 years, obviously I'll be dead. Whoever owns this building plus me will have saved 600 grand. So it's not too bad considering what we paid. When we do this TCBO for new build passive houses, and compare them to code minimum, it's 30% better if you do the passive house in that realm. There's just the same exact information shown as a graph or as a comparison. And so this heavy bar is the lowest cost of owning this building, and that's where we are. Sorry. There's the capital costs. I'm speeding up because I want you guys to have questions, and it's I got 8 minutes left. So this is, these are the capital costs that we assumed. Of course, doing a code minimum new build is expensive, partly because the cost of demolishing in this location would have been pretty high because it's really a very tight downtown site on a really tiny street. So Um, Here's our comparison of 60-year utility costs. So electricity and total utility. Basically, it's it's an all-electric building, so the total utility is pretty high, or is pretty. The proportion of electricity in that total utility is high. And then the maintenance capital. And I like showing this slide because people don't think about maintenance capital. You don't think about when you build a house, like what the cost of replacing your heating system is going to be, or upgrades and that sort of thing. We think about maintenance, but not the maintenance capital for some reason. And it is significant. It is like almost as significant as energy. And we don't just have costs, we also have equity. And so our equity in the, these are the equity comparison. Of course, the code bill, the code minimum new has higher equity just because it was cheaper than our retrofit, essentially. But the equity in a code minimum, in the retrofit was the least. And so when we kind of want to understand our business case, what we need to do is like look at the equity minus the total cost of building ownership after that 60 years. And so you can see that fortunately I got this grant. Otherwise, it was pretty close for the code minimum new build in terms of the equity minus the total cost of ownership. But we still have a business case, people. That is like, so I don't have to be embarrassing myself here telling you that I shouldn't have spent all this money. Like once you're committed, right? And then we also quantified the embodied carbon because that's important to us. And we weren't too religious about this, but we're in the, around 6,000 kilograms of CO2e with the work that we did to this building. But we saved at least 12,000 by not demolishing this building. And then if we built this building new, this was done based on our assumptions for the code minimum new build. There would be around 24,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide associated with the project, not including the demolishment of the building. So 12K would go to the landfill. So, these numbers don't mean much to most people because we don't do these calculations all the time, but we like to understand them because we need to be counting these things. So maybe a few other people will do the same math and we can compare notes. This is done using the BEAM calculator by Builders for Climate Action, by the way. It's very easy to use, dead easy and free. Was it worth it also? This is literally how we used to dress in our old office. Now it's not winter time yet, but the guys who were working here this winter, this is my business partner, Judy. She's lovely. And she knows that I show people this picture. The guys who were working here this winter were 100% like, I can't believe how warm it is. And for the entire project, we only had the basement heat pump, which is 1 ton going, and the main heat pump for all of the passive house part didn't get hooked up until I think May. And they were all like, all you need is this 1 ton heat pump. And I believed that. The model said that, but the contractor refused to only put in a 1 ton heat pump. And this was today. So we're very comfortable. It was like 30 something degrees here the last 2 days, and everybody's like cool as a cucumber, no sweat. So there we go. I'm going to stop sharing. And y'all can ask me some questions for 3 minutes or however long.
Well, I'm just going to say, Lorrie, it's an amazing project, and I did get to see some of the early pictures and tuned into a few things. So you have come a long way, and I'm just personally happy to see you in the building. So
Me too.
I know there is a few questions in the chat, and I will see if I can dig them up here.
Okay.
In no particular order.
While Aaron's doing that, I just want to make a comment that your ability to mix the old with the new is fantastic. To retrofit a building that is that old and have it become a passive house retrofit but also for you to keep the heritage and the homage to the original design of the building is great.
Yeah, like
Kudos.
we for us, sorry to interrupt you. Like it's really important to us to like be building buildings that are of today, but you don't see all of that heritage anymore. And there's like a really important discourse going on about the value of heritage, and a lot of buildings that should not be getting knocked down are going. So we were pretty deliberate about like not trying to blend in the old stuff because we're like, no, it's like we want people to notice it, not just see like everything all shiny and new and fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, and your carbon numbers, Elizabeth from Carbon Wise would be standing up and, applauding you for keeping an old building in place and knowing that those numbers are what they are. Instead of it's great to stand on a soapbox, but you actually have the numbers to back it up.
Thank you.
All right. I think we'll just do it in the usual BS&BEER Canada fashion because you've actually answered most of the questions that I can find easily. Um, if you're in the
I'm like
audience, you're
Birdie.
still with us, and you've got a question, uh, jump in here. We'll bring you up. You can ask Lori a question. And while people are doing that, I will just echo Gina's sentiments. Having that, sharp contrast with the old right beside the new, very tastefully done. I'm a huge fan. Um,
Well, you all have to come visit and see it in real life.
I am going to come visit.
And also, just so you guys know, so we did get so Efficiency Nova Scotia, some of you may not know, like it's a basically it's a non-government organization that pays you to save energy, and it's been around for more than 10 years. Can't tell you how long it's been around. Um, and so they were always going to give us an incentive for completing this project as long as like our blower door test at the end was better than the 24 that it was when we started with. But we approached them and said, look, this is what we're doing. We're trying to do a demonstration project. Will you, like, how much more can you find for us? And they did find, they gave us almost 200 grand. And in exchange for that, I'm giving tours for the rest of my life. And so anybody who says, I would like to organize a tour, we are giving them a tour. So we've given probably more than 25 tours already. We gave like umpteen tours during construction, and we will continue to educate anybody, answer any questions, share our information, which is why I'm like sharing the numbers, because it's like so important that people understand and our builder was not out to lunch and telling us it was 350 grand when he did. By the way, the project was delayed for a number of reasons. Many natural disasters in Nova Scotia in 2023 impacted our contractors. And From the day we bought this building to the day, till today, there's more than 50% escalation in construction costs. So, and PS, sometimes we saw some things that were pretty. We we didn't know we were going to buy them at the beginning, but we bought them.
Scope creep. Isn't
Scope
that the
creep.
worst?
Some
Especially
of the
when you're in
scope
charge
creep
of
was
the
not,
budget.
yeah, some of it was not like avoidable. Some of it was purely like, okay, we're gonna do that. This is the one time I'm gonna do this with my own money. I'm gonna do the things I want to do.
Before we bring Pete in, Pete has a valid question about your sensors, which I'm curious about too. But I believe Efficiency Nova Scotia has been around since the 90s.
Long
I'm
time.
pretty sure they were involved early in the R2000 program. Um, I'm going to check on that, and I'll let you
Might
know.
not be that old, but like no, but it's definitely been a leading organization in Canada and has done a lot for public awareness in our region and giving people money for doing the right thing.
Pete, if you
Okay.
want to hop on and ask your questions about sensors, please do so. No, no, Pete?
I can answer that one real quickly because I don't remember. So what I did about the sensors, I was like, I am not an expert on this, and I asked a couple of colleagues, and I found this great guy named Ben Reed, who's an engineer, and he's self-employed, and I'm so embarrassed because I can't remember his company's name right now, but he was already working on developing kind of like an open source kit of parts that that he wants to release to the public and say, if you want to monitor things in your house, here's an inexpensive way to set it up. And so he and I are actually, we could do a show because I can't talk about it in a way like he just came in and did a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and I have an app. Like I and so I think that we could probably have Ben come on and explain what we're doing in this building and show you how we're monitoring things.
Well, please, please go out of your way. Take a moment tomorrow. Introduce him to me via email. Um, I have somebody else that I would like to introduce him to, who is a bit of a sensor junkie and trying to use AI to compile sensor data uh, across North America.
It's a big
To
opportunity.
well, yeah. Anyways, without derailing the show to go down the sensor road,
Yeah,
s- uh,
that'll be I mean, in some way that is part of our knowledge dissemination commitment. Like we're gonna share how that happened. So it's and like it will be open source. We're gonna tell you how to do it. So
cool.
yeah.
All right, that's awesome. Um, I don't know if we have any other questions. Uh,
Pete asked if I'm adding it to the Retrofit Canada website, and I am. I just haven't
okay.
I haven't filled out the case study form. Partly because, okay, I really want to hit my blower door target first. And so I've been procrastinating, but I could always give it to them and then update it. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, Joe, do you have a question? Maybe.
so we have a couple theories about the water, but and there's one big one is just that we put on really big, oh, I should have showed you my eaves troughs. They're beautiful. Um, we put these massive European, like half circle diameter, high volume eaves troughs on, and the flashing on the roof didn't come out far enough where in a couple places, and one of them is right over that window. So that window is getting hit hard, just like with water. And when it got wet the other day, it was sunny, and then there was a tornado. Like it was just like classic, like what is happening? I honestly just think it's like a wind direction thing. So
Well,
we're gonna start at the top and work down, but like it's definitely a wind direction thing. You know that, right, Aaron?
yeah, I do know that thing. But it sounds to me like a great excuse for me and Gina to bring a
Garden
bucket of
hose,
soapy water
garden
and
hose.
our
Yeah.
DeWalt
A smart builder
pressure sprayer and
that I know colors his water with he puts like a Sharpie like a green highlighter or something in it so the water turns a hideous color, and that's how.
And you start at
oh,
the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a question, Finley?
oh,
Oh, sorry, was my mic off?
Yeah, sorry. I
yeah,
was
Sorry,
like,
sorry.
I swear
I
he
realized
said
I'm
he
wearing a
had a
headset for the
question.
first time in a while, so I realized I was talking. Yeah, great presentation. At the start, I think you said when you first did the blower door test, it was something like 2024. Was that, did I hear that right? So like,
Yes.
how fast were those fans spinning? That must have been
He could
pretty
barely get a
crazy.
reading.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Barely
was
get a reading.
thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, again, what the main chimney in the building was capped by the previous owners. But there was one chimney that was like practically open to the sky. Like there, didn't really seem to have a functional damper or anything. So that was a big part of it. But like honestly, uninsulated, nothing was square. Like you could see air around a lot of the windows. Like it just, but like the house next door was 34, I believe. And I talked to somebody last week who had one that was in the 30s as well. Like I am not like I didn't buy the worst house in Halifax. It's like the building stock in this part of the country is old, and there are every so often you come across a building that really nobody's done much to. So
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I've been to Halifax once and I was able to like go around and you can just tell by looking at those houses with all like the old colors on them and stuff that they're definitely not brand new.
yeah.
Lorrie, would your building have been subject to the Halifax explosion?
Yeah, so our building was 70 when the Halifax explosion happened.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think and there actually was also, I mean, not maybe not everybody knows what that is, but it was like the biggest explosion in the world up until the Americans bombed Japan. So or I guess until they were like testing their bombs in the desert, but it was a very devastating event, and a lot of people died, and a lot of more people were blinded because they were all looking out their windows at this fire. And there was a big fire in the north end of the city. Most of the fire was quite a bit further north than we are, but there were some like parts of our building was charred, and I was wondering if that dated all the way back to
How
then, or
close are you to downtown?
we're just north of the Citadel, so we're not super
Okay.
far north. Yeah.
Okay.
The worst of the explosion was, many blocks further north.
Still wild to think that it was there for that.
Yes. Well, it explains a lot of the wonkiness. Like our floor was out by
Abs
6 inches.
It actually does explain a lot of that. I mean, that was the largest explosion at that time, and it remained that way until
So that's
basically
right. So it
nuclear
was in
testing started.
1917 that the explosion
Yeah.
happened. Well, thank you guys all for, the nice comments.
Well, unless anybody has any further questions, we will probably bid you all adieu and cap this episode of BS&BEER Canada. I would really like to thank you, Lorrie, for taking the time to give us a tour of your amazing new office space. I'm going to hit you up for a tour, hopefully sooner than later in person.
You're all
Um,
welcome.
oh, all right. Unless anybody has any further questions, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of BS&BEER Canada. And we hope to see you next month on the third Thursday, where we are going to be talking about flashings, something that we have to go help Lorrie with.
It's
Anyways,
absolutely true. Absolutely true.
well, maybe Lorrie, you can share that as a lesson
It's
next month.
definitely a lesson because the fancy gutters were one of those things that we were like, well, let's spring for those, but the flashing on the roof was already there for like ages. They were not compatible. Anyway, we'll get there. Thanks,
Every
everybody.
All right. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you for joining us.